Welcome back to the Crack Community. Today I'm going to reveal 2 of the 12 words from my book that it takes to unlock a Bitcoin wallet. In case if you don't know, I've written a book and attached to it's a Bitcoin wallet. Click that link to find out more information. So today we're going to be focusing on Chapter 12 and Chapter 1. And first of all, Chapter 12 was probably the easiest word to find out of the whole 12 words. Chapter 12 was my favorite chapter to write, and I think it has a lot of meaning to it. That's probably why I like it the most. That's why I liked writing it the most. But like I said, Chapter 12 is probably the easiest, and I know 2 people, based on the comments in the last video, I know 2 people have already found the word, Mike and Craig. So if you want to see what my last video was, go through the comments, read the comments. You can see that Mike actually found the word in my documentaries, which I'm very surprised and I'm very happy. I didn't know that people would be able to find that, so I made it a little bit easier in the second documentary. But the first one, kudos to you, Mike. You did a great job finding that word. It's a subliminal word. It flashes real quick, and it was very good that you found that. That lets me know that people are finding these messages that I give out. So, Chapter 12 starts off with a big heart, but that doesn't mean that the picture is necessarily going to be the word. So if you look on Chapter 11, for example, there's a big B for a Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that one of the words is going to be Bitcoin. So if you read through Chapter 12 even more, you'll see that it ends with the word love. Now, just because it ends with love doesn't mean that every chapter, if it ends with a word, is going to be that word. So, for example, Chapter 11 ends with home, and home is not the word for Chapter 11. But most importantly, you'll see on page 136, you can see the protagonist wrote down the words from the book that the protagonist was cracking. And you'll see the first word is love, okay? Now, love, it could mean, or it could be any of these words, but love is actually a different font. It's very hard to see. Very, very hard to see is a different font and a different font size. So it's those little details that you have to look at. You'll have to see those small little details in order to get the words. So love is it's a different font and it's a different font size. And it's the smallest little size difference, but it is a different size. So like I said, Chapter 12 is a great chapter. It was fun for me to write. And if you look on page 135, you'll notice that I have blank 1 through 12, and there's a blank line. I intentionally put that for you to be able to write. You can write down whatever you think the words are. So I suggest using a pencil because a pencil you can erase it. And I put that in there so if you're traveling with a book and you think you found a word, then you can pencil it in. You don't need a little piece of paper or notepad or whatever. A big shout out to Kyle Lasers. Kyle Lasers did an interview with me, and I sent them a box, a treasure chest, and on the notepad I put, I hope you love the story. So it went along with the whole theme of Chapter 12. And that brings me to Chapter 1. Chapter 1, I sent a chest to a news agency, a local one. I highly doubt that they even opened it. So they lost out. And I didn't write the word on the notepad like I did with Kyle Lasers. I hid it very well. So whoever got the box would actively have to search just as hard for that one little word as they would have to for the whole book. I think the easiest treasure chest that I sent out was to Kyle Lasers. And then I thought, well, this is a little bit too easy, so I made it a little bit more difficult as I sent out more treasure chests. So Chapter 1 was a very the word was very difficult for me to write. First of all, it was my first chapter writing, and that's kind of maybe the hardest chapter to write for a writer would be chapter 1. Where do I begin? Where do I start? How do I start putting this story together, right? So chapter 1, if you look on page 3, you'll notice the word blue blouse, okay? So that in itself isn't going to tell you that that's what the word is. However, just note that, you have two words together that both start with B, blue blouse. Again, that's not, hey, this is the word. So what I did is I put in the identifier, and the identifier is on page 8, where it says, my preference, of course, is the bilabial sounds. It has a great impact when a person puts two bilabials together in a sentence to create an impact, okay? So, again, that sounds pretty random, and you got to look at kind of the randomness. And there's a lot of random things in the book, but that's pretty random. And you have to know what bilabial sounds are. Bilabial sounds are words like B, where you have the lips coming together. Research more on that. But you have the B. But you put two bilabial sounds or two bilabial words together, and you'll notice that in chapter 1 there are only two bilabial words that are put together. So the word for chapter 1 is blouse. So one more thing I want to cover in chapter 1 is on page 9, you'll see another just totally random, 68.63%. Now, that means something. When it's just totally off the wall and it's totally random, that means something. So let me tell you, 68.63% means something. Now, that's going to be for you to decide what that means. And I just want you to know that you find random stuff like that, highlight it, underline it, and make a mental note that this could actually mean something. All right, so I'm here to tell you that 68.63% actually means something, and it could be for chapter 2 or 3 or 4. So again, I'm doing this so you get a little insight of what's going on in my brain. I showed you what an easy one looks like. I showed you what a difficult one looks like. And I'm going to cover the ones throughout, like the blue blouse, right? That one, it could have been in my head, and I'm going to cover those. Those are either hard, not just hard, extremely hard, or even maybe impossible. So I'm going to cover those words. But the words that I'm not going to cover are from chapters 4, 5, 9, 10, and 11. Those are easy, not as easy as chapter 12, but they're pretty easy. So I'm not going to cover those. Those should be pretty easy for you to find. But I am going to cover the ones like blue blouse that it all could be in my head. Anyway, with that being said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Hit that bell, whatever, so you get my updates whenever they're released. And good luck cracking the code.